Hello, and welcome to Beyond Bereavement, The Power of Planning. My name is Beatrice Tony Bailey, and I am your television host and the author of the book, Farewell, My Friend. Farewell, My Friend was written as a result of the many lessons I learned while taking care of my late husband. I found out during this very stressful time that it's not a matter of if a person's going to have to deal with these end-of-life issues, but when and who. Beyond Bereavement, The Power of Planning is a collaborative effort between the Interfaith Service Bureau and its television station, RCC TV, and Eastline Memorial Park. It's the desire of these organizations that Beyond Bereavement, The Power of Planning function as a platform for interactive discussions between the various faith communities. Won't you join us? Hello, and welcome to Beyond Bereavement, The Power of Planning. I'm Beatrice Bailey. I'm your host for this evening's program, and thank you so much for joining us. Now, tonight's show is very interesting, because I say they're all interesting, because I find them all interesting. It's about the American Cancer Society, and we have the lovely Paula Birdsong here. She's the Executive Regional Director, or the Regional Executive Director. What are you?
Regional Vice President.
See, I made her director of the American Cancer Society. So she's here today, and she will give us a lot of information on the American Cancer Society. What we're trying to do, as I've stated before, this show really is a series of workshops. We want to demystify information that you think you may have, may not have. So when we talk about the American Cancer Society, we're going to start down at the base level. So we want to find out who, what, where, when, and how about your society. Who organized it? And
you know, it's been around since 1913, so it way dates us, thank goodness.
Yes, I'm not that old.
No, neither am I. And it's the largest healthcare organization in the country. It was started for the simple purpose of trying to figure out what to do about people with cancer, how to support people with cancer. And that's still our mission, is to provide assistance to people who are going through that journey, as well as provide resources for them, programs for them, and also we raised money for research. Was there a founder? I mean, was it a couple people, or was there one person that was the driving force behind the organization? It was kind of a group of people that started the organization back east, and of course it spread throughout the country. It's a very large organization now. The national office is in Atlanta, and we have divisions throughout the whole country. California is a division within itself because, you know, we're such a large state. And we serve millions of people. As you know, cancer affects people of all ages, backgrounds. It doesn't matter. And because of that, and because it is something that most people can relate to, we have a large number of people that we serve. Now,
what's some of the misconceptions regarding the American Cancer Society?
You know, I hear sometimes that all we do is raise money. And
you do need to raise money.
We have to, because, and that was one of the things when I started with the organization, I needed to understand we have to raise money because we provide all of our services free. So that's the purpose of raising the money, so that we can have people who are going through a cancer journey to be able to access the services and have them free. Also, a good portion of our money, over 50%, goes to research. A lot of the treatment programs, the drugs that are available right now, were people that we had funded. We're very proud of the fact that we as an organization have funded 44 Nobel Prize laureates. Those were people who were early in their scientific career, and doctors who were in their early stages were looking at how to develop drugs to fight cancer, and they've gone on and they've actually won Nobel Prizes in those areas to fight cancer, different types of cancer. Another misconception is that we just deal with one type of cancer, but we actually serve people with all cancers.
Now, what kind of program do you have to talk about the prevention of cancer? Because it seems like it's so prevalent in so many different areas.
You know, and it is. Cancer is something that we strive to prevent cancer. And you can only do that through education and helping people understand early in their lives. Because it's a lifestyle change. It's something that people need to understand. So we do programs for children as young as elementary school.
What kind of programs for kids?
Helping them to understand why we say no to to tobacco.
That always seems to be the first one to pop up.
It's because tobacco impacts your health more than you would even imagine. And it has a direct link to so many cancers. So we know right there, that's a big one. If we can get kids not to start, because it's very difficult to stop smoking, as you've probably heard. That's a very difficult habit to break. So the best news is don't start. Don't develop the habit. As well as alcohol, which we also know is a contributing factor to so many diseases, and also the way we eat. And in our country, we have developed some very poor habits.
You think?
And
aren't we like one of the heaviest industrialized nations in the world?
We absolutely are, and that's developed over years.
Right.
And as we have grown economically, it's like we've become fatter as we got richer,
more prosperous.
Yes, and we ate our prosperous. But we were eating the wrong things. And so now the focus on nutrition is something that really has to go back. And we also did ourselves a disservice when we did not provide proper nutrition in schools. Cafeterias were providing just the wrong type of food for our children.
Inexpensive, highly processed foods and things of that sort.
And unfortunately, we figured that out too late. And so a lot of children were products of that. As adults, they realized that their youth had been consuming, all the wrong things, and then it led to a number of cancers that we see today.
Have you gotten any kind of pushbacks when you try to go ahead and promote education? Because I would think that you probably would run into a couple of roadblocks. You
do, and I don't want to say everywhere, but you do. Mainly because people are used to the same habits, and even kids now. They did not initially want to have some of the changes in the schools where. They were used to having French fries for lunch. They were used to having, instead of carrot sticks. And they're like, you've got to be kidding me.
You expect me to eat these things?
But I always believe if you introduce something to children early, then it becomes their norm. If they don't have chocolate mousse as their dessert only.
I can remember when my children were little. I was very, very health conscious with them. They didn't have cookies, didn't have Kool-Aid. They only had juices. I never cooked out of a box. Yada yada yada. And so if they were good, I would tell them, I said, if you're good, Mommy's going to give you celery and peanut butter. And they'd go, yay! Well, they didn't know any difference. They thought that was really great food. They didn't know any difference.
Exactly. And if kids are learning that way, if they were to learn that way, then it wouldn't be a struggle. It wouldn't be a tug of war because that would be the norm. But unfortunately, when you try to introduce it too late, it's very difficult.
It was interesting this morning when I was up, I was listening to the news, and they were talking about the type of cereal that children are eating. And they said the responsibility and accountability really needs to be on the parents, of course, that's where it starts, but also on the cereal manufacturers, because they talked about, if you look at the children's shows, 90% of the commercials are for your high sugary, tutti fruity, lumpy berry, chunky whatever, and that when they need to be having very effective commercials on whole grain cereals and things of that sort.
That's a whole nother conversation. The advertisement industry and how it has impacted our own development and how we are teaching our children such poor habits in so many areas. But we could go on for days talking about their impact.
And there was a movie, I don't know if you all have seen it. I saw it once, and once all you really need. Supersize It. Did you ever see that one?
Yes. Yes.
Man, what a wake-up call. Because it talked about this gentleman. I won't mention the company that he ate at, but you can check it out. It has a golden kind of, but
M.
Yeah. And so he ate there all of his meals for one full full month. And the damage that it did to him over a month's time. And every time he went to get something, they would say, do you want to supersize it? Even if I go to the movies and that, you go to the movies and get popcorn. For 35 cents more, I can get the giant popcorn. Well, I'm pretty Scotch, regarding my money. And I thought, well, I'll get that. Then I'm bloated like a blimp with all this popcorn because it seemed like such a good deal. But it's kind of a head trip.
It is. It's an education piece. So that's a portion of what we do in trying to educate, as I said, children primarily. And, of course, adults who need to understand that they can make lifestyle changes that will impact whether or not they are battling this themselves. Even people who have been smokers for years, just stopping smoking does, in fact, have a positive impact on your health. You need to know that that damage continues every time you pick up another cigarette.
Right. And I guess smoking is one of the more difficult habits to break. I've read something that said like it's even harder than cocaine or something like that. It's an approved drug.
Well, that's the problem. People assume because it is an approved drug and because it's legal and you can access it at the grocery store, that it must not be that bad for you. But there's nothing more damaging. And that's the misconception, that something that's so available, just like food, we can damage ourselves with food, which of course is legal, as well as tobacco. But those are things that we as individuals could take a look at. And we have lots of programs that will help people if they're looking to make those lifestyle changes.
So when do people contact you? At what stage in the process? Do they contact you when they've already gotten cancer? Do they contact you when they want to find out how to prevent cancer? I mean, why would I call the American Cancer Society?
We get all of those reasons. Primarily people call when they've just received a diagnosis. They've gone to their doctor and he said, Paula, I'm sorry to tell you, but you now have cancer. And then normally what happens, people don't hear anything past that. You know, he may be giving instructions on what to do next steps, but it's like, you know, all of a sudden the volume has gone down.
Right.
They don't hear anything.
But cancer is a pretty scary word.
It is an incredibly scary word. And because of that, people will then call. Thankfully, we have a resource and network where people can call 24 hours a day, any day of the year, no matter holidays, doesn't matter. It's an 800 number. And we have people who are there to walk you through and to answer any questions and to help you understand what you just heard. And so we have an 800 number that people can access so that they can then get some concrete information. We'll send it right to them via email or in the mail.
Are these trained clinicians? Are they medical people?
They are clinicians, and they are also, they've all been highly trained. It's a center that actually, it's located in Texas, but we also have a California network. If we find out where they're calling, then we connect them with our California Resource Network, which is down in Oakland. And we help them answer any questions if they want information about that particular type of cancer. You know, there are different stages. People need to know what all of those things mean. So we provide that information within a very short period of time, in less than 48 hours.
Now, is there a difference between the different types of people that contact you? So you have more men, more women? What? I know the answer to this question, by the way.
You know, it's women, and I know that's a huge shock to you, but no.
Why? Why do you think?
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I know it's not a shock to you. Women are always more, I believe, and this is statistics, and I'm sorry I didn't bring those numbers with me, but women always access healthcare information more frequently than men. We find that that's always the case, even if the woman is calling for the man who's been impacted in her family. Maybe she's calling for her husband or her brother or someone else.
You think because we're just conditioned to be nurturers?
We're caregivers. We're naturally caregivers in so many ways. And because of that, we will be the ones to seek out. I can think of an example of a couple that I knew very well whose son was diagnosed with cancer, which of course is so scary. It was a child who was only 6 years old. Baby. And that breaks your heart. And when the mom called and said, Paul, I need some help. I knew it was something serious. And she shared with me what it was, and she shared that her husband was unable to handle this. He normally was the one who took care of all the business in the family, everything, all the steps. This threw him for a loop. He absolutely just had to go to bed and could not handle the news. So she got all the information that she needed to get as to, okay, what steps do I need to do? She understood that this was something they were going to fight. For him, it was like a death sentence. And thankfully, with all of the research that has been done, cancer is not always a death sentence. It is something that it's a chronic disease that we have treatments that we can use to fight that disease.
Well, now you mentioned it's not a death sentence. Obviously, you'd have more of a running start if you were able to participate in some kind of early detection. Do you give that kind of education?
We do.
And I know the answer to that also.
Yes, we do. We really stress early detection because the earlier a cancer is detected, the greater the outcome, the greater the chance of treatment being successful. We have more women and men who are diagnosed with breast cancer, which is still the #1 cancer. But it's treatable. It's becoming a chronic disease as opposed to something that was absolutely terminal. We have people who can go through their cancer journey and then are cancer free. And that's thanks to some of the research that's been done, thanks to those scientists who have found the right combination of drugs that we can use in those treatments, and people can then get through their journey and be considered cancer free.
What are some of the early detection programs that you have? I know women with breast cancer is certainly self-examination, but I don't know any women that do it on a regular basis. You think about it before you get ready to go to your doctor, or as soon as you come home and you look at the little chart that's in your shower, but on a regular basis, I don't.
And that is something that we are, and I know it's hard to do, especially in our busy, chaotic lives. So something that's very simple, we send an email reminder.
Wow.
For people who ask, how can I remember to make sure that I'm doing this? You know how you get a reminder, it's like, oh yes, you're right, I need to do this. We can send email reminders so that you can make sure you get your mammogram, make sure you're doing your self-breast, whatever. And as well as in our support programs, that's something we always stress, making sure that people know that early detection, if you're not feeling well, go see. It could be absolutely nothing, but it's better to find out. Don't wait. Because
I think we all have heard of stories where someone just waited. I had a lump, I had a bump, I just, it wasn't that much of it wasn't that much of a big deal. And so they let a couple, 3 months go by, hopefully not a year, and by the time they go and investigate it, it's moved now to another level.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what we always do, when people do call and ask us, what should I do? We have information such as this pamphlet, which I'll share. It's called Where to Turn. When you've gotten that call, when you've gotten that diagnosis, when you've gotten that information about a family member and you're not sure, in this brochure we have information about the types of questions you're to ask of your doctor. Because as I said, initially you're so shocked and stunned that you're not sure what to ask. We'll send this pamphlet which has questions, particular types of questions that you would like to ask.
That's important, because one thing that we stress throughout this program, regardless of whatever subject matter we're talking about, you want a study to show yourself approved, and you contact the American Cancer Society, you go on the internet, you get all the information you can possibly get, so you're in a better position for you to be able to help your doctor. It needs to be a collaborative effort to help your doctor help you find some kind of resolution, maybe not a cure, but a resolution to your problem. And again, armed with information, it's going to give you more confidence and really bring your stress level down a notch or two.
It's our goal to empower people to be the best advocates that they can for either themselves or others. And you can only do that if you have the information. So we're happy to share that information in whatever form. If we can mail it to them or email it to them or put it in the mail, it's whatever. As well as programs that we have to offer. We have, it's called a Reach to Recovery program. That program is for someone who's recently been diagnosed. We then pair them with someone who's been through a similar...
Peer group support.
It helps to have someone to talk to who's been through your same journey. So you might think, okay, I am new, I just got this news last week. What can I anticipate as I get ready to go into treatment? Is my hair going to fall out tomorrow? Is it going to take a year for it to come back? Tell me those absolute concerns that people have and that people need to hear about. We try and address.
And that's wonderful, because again, you may have a question in your mind that you think is a silly question. You don't want to ask the question, but you're going to sit there and twist and turn and be concerned about the question, when I could just call up Paula and say, I'm feeling, girl, I felt the same way. Absolutely. But let me tell you, da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Absolutely. And there are no silly questions. And having someone who's your peer, someone that we pair up with you, they'll call you daily as much as you want, just to check on you, just to see, okay, it's Thursday, just checking, hadn't talked to you since Tuesday, how are things? Because even though you might have been fine on Tuesday, by Thursday, your attitude may be totally different. We recognize the ebbs and flows that happen with the emotions. And so with that peer person, that person who will call you and say, what can I do for you? You need me to come by. You need me to talk to your husband. Is he not getting this? What is it can I do for you, Beatrice? And because of that, people have been able to then get to the next week and the next week and make sure that they get to their treatment. In addition, we have a program where we will help people get to their treatment programs. If they physically. We'll pay for the transportation. We will, and that's what some of the funds that we raise go toward. That's a large portion of the service that we provide. We have family in town, I know that, but for those who are alone and are in need of a way to get to their treatment, they can call us, and we can help them get there.
Because that's important, because if you have to have a specific treatment and your family member is working, and that they could put their job in jeopardy taking off to, and it's not like if they've got a chemotherapy, I mean, depending on what's going on, that could be an hour or two.
Exactly.
And then if the person's got to drive you back and forth, that's 3 hours. And by the time, so that's a half a day, you know, a couple, 3 times a week. And if they don't have Family Medical Leave Act or something like that to cover their time, it could be stressful.
It can be incredibly stressful. And we absolutely make sure that people are aware of that service so that we can assist, you know, in making sure that people do get to their treatment. We don't want people to have a gap in their treatment, because we know that that's very damaging. We need them to have, you know, complete their entire treatment regimen. Is
there any kind of limitation on how often they can come by and get you?
You know, we do, of course, with money, you know, we have a max amount that we can spend per person in order to be fair to everyone, but within a year.
Okay.
And if by chance they still need us another year from now, that whole cycle starts over again.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, we've talked about women. What are some of the cancer concerns and programs you have in place for men?
Well, prostate, of course, is one of the #1 concerns for men, of course. And we have a program called Man to Man. It's a support group for men who have been through that journey. We find men aren't going to hear it from women.
Right.
We learned that a long time ago. They're not.
It's like a man trying to explain to women the intricacies of childbirth.
Don't you love that?
Yeah, it's like,
stop. Give me a break.
Right.
No. Yeah. But with the program, the Man to Man program, you're again kind of paired up with other men who've been through the program, who've been through the whole process. Prostate cancer, it's one of those that men can recover from, and some men have thought, I'm not going to go. There's no point. This is, you know, it's the end for me, and it's not. And I know that from personal experience. My uncle, who was so stubborn, was not going to go. He thought, what's the point? I've been diagnosed. There's no point to trying. And we had to gang up on him, literally. And
she's a twin, so they can do it.
Literally, just helping him understand, this is a dumb thing that you're doing. You're not going to sit here and just let it consume you. You are going to get up off the couch. We gave him 24 hours for his pity party, and then told him that he now had to get up and do what he needs to do. And that's what we have to do. So with that program, men are able to talk to other men who've been through that journey.
I have a friend, Marie, and she says whenever she has someone that wants to have a pity party, she'll tell them, okay, you can go on down the basement, have your pity party, but don't stay there long enough to hang up curtains.
There you go. I like that. I like that. And that's one of the things that we've learned over the years, is that the best medicine is to remain positive. It's amazing how that empowers the body to heal.
Do you have statistics? I would think that if the more positive you are, you may get a little bit more out of.
You are absolutely being an advocate for yourself and for your body. If you remain positive, if you see that, granted, we'll have those days, as I mentioned, but it does impact your treatment outcomes. It does.
How about people of faith? Do you see any difference in people that appear to be a person of faith?
You know, and of course, I don't always know that with the people who come to us, because that's not something that we ask. But for those that I'm aware of who've been through it, as a matter of fact, one of the guests that I wanted to come with me today is going through active treatment right now. And this is her 3rd round of being diagnosed. And my heart goes out to her, because she has been the most positive person that I can think of. Others were falling apart when she was diagnosed for the 3rd time, and she said, you know, this is just something else I've got to get through. You know, it's just, she took on it like it was a project, like cleaning the garage. That's what she said. We got to clean the garage again. I'm like, clean the garage again. But it's her attitude about this that's, I believe, going to get her through this 3rd round. She isn't doing well today because she also got the flu on top of going through, and of course her body is she's weak condition, very vulnerable right now. So we're going to get her through this, but surrounding herself with people who take her some soup. People who pick up the phone and say, you sounded pretty low last night, so I'm just checking on you this morning. Those kinds of things. And she is a woman of faith. Right. And I believe that has her edge. That's why she's been able to have such a positive outlook. And I think what her faith has done is helped to allay some of the fears of her family. You know, she has 2 daughters, And this is hard on children.
How are the children?
They're grown, but
still, they're still daughters. They're still kids.
They've seen their mom go through this twice, and they were hoping that was it. And we don't know why it came again. But she is saying, hey, just like I battled it before, I'm going to battle it again. But for younger children, we do have information that we also provide. Lots of literature, lots of books that we provide for.
You brought one of the books here with you.
I did bring one of the books. This one is entitled, Our Daddy is Getting Better. And it's talking about the fact that daddy has been very sick. Kids know, even if they're little, they know when daddy is not the same. Daddy is in bed more than usual. Daddy is not up running around. Daddy doesn't feel like playing football. Daddy doesn't want to go out and run around. And this book helps them understand why. It's not that he no longer likes football. It's not that, how children always take it on personally. They assume that he must be sick and doesn't want to play with me because something I did. And this book talks about, no, daddy is taking these treatments so that he can get better and that he can play football with you very soon.
It's important. Now, any special considerations for families who are dealing with children that have cancer? That's got to be, I have, whatever my kids would get a cold, I'd want to leave the county, let alone deal with it. But to have a child that has cancer, that's got to be some real unique.
And that's a unique challenge. There's probably nothing greater because you have to try and manage the issue yourself, and then depending on the child's age, help them understand what's going on. The 6-year-old that I referred to earlier, and the mother and the father who couldn't understand, she did. She recognized what was going on, and she became the greatest advocate. She goes, I just need to know some information here. But what she was able to tell the child is that this is temporary. We are going to help you get better. I know you don't feel good. I know why you don't feel good. But we're going to do what we can to help you. And he kept saying, I'm not sure why I don't feel good. And recognize the kids will ask the same thing over and over again because of their age.
Right.
Reassure them that I know you don't, but we're going to go back and we're going to take our medicine so that we will eventually feel better. That child, after a year, is absolutely running around, jumping on furniture when he was at my house, and I absolutely let him. He's got a pass.
Right.
And when you look at him now, you would know that he had been so sick. And that's the joy that I look for and I live for, so that we can say, if we just get him through this, next year this time, he'll be jumping all over the furniture again.
Well, you know what, and the power that you have with your mind, I mean, the dominant thought, if you focus on the negative and focus on what's lacking in your life, that's what you're going to see. I mean, is the glass half empty, half full?
Correct.
I mean, you have to focus on the positive attitude. Not that you're going to run around and say, yippee skippy, my husband, my brother, whatever, have cancer, but what can I do about this? And let's try to find something positive that we can do.
And more than anything, I always like to stress that to anyone who calls, and the same thing that my staff do. We always want to empower and arm people with, now, I recognize this is a horrible, horrible time for you, but this is just one step. Now we're going to look at the next steps. What do we need to do? What do we do from this point on? We try and, from as little as if someone who's already in the middle of their treatment says that my hair is falling out, we have wig programs. We have programs where they can come and get a wig if they're unable to get one.
That's wonderful. Because hair is very important to a woman.
It is.
We just had a discussion. Is it too curly? Is it whatever?
Exactly. Yeah, all of those things. That means a lot to your psyche, and we recognize that. And so we have contracted with cosmetologists who come in, and we'll have our Look Good, Feel Better program, it's called.
What does that involve?
That involves people who are being taught how to put on makeup. When you're going through your treatment, your skin coloring changes, and you're trying to put on makeup so that you don't look pasty or crazy looking. And some people don't know how to do that. So we have classes to teach people the way to put on makeup so that it encourages them to, help them to feel better. When the eyebrows are gone, when the eyelashes have fallen out. For those who don't want to wear a wig, head wraps. We teach them how to do the different types of head wraps. We get incredibly fancy, and it's amazing how it helps to build the self-esteem of that patient. And that's our job, is to help them feel better.
Right, because they can help but to help their recovery.
Exactly.
Now, let's talk about cultural or ethnic overtones. I mean, I know there's a higher prevalence of breast cancer among black women. Can you speak to that?
You know, it's actually...
It's not just black women, though, but black women is the highest, right?
It is the highest. It is. The incident actually is, and the death rate is higher in women. We actually contract the disease less, but we die more. And that is something that's being studied, and there is no real conclusion.
What do you think?
I think it's that there are stages when we finally do go for treatment is the more advanced stages.
Yeah, the preventive medicine and things of that
we
sort.
take care of others around us and not ourselves. And unfortunately, the later stages, of course, they're harder to treat. But I'm hoping that some of the research will determine what it is that has our incident rate of mortality to be so much greater. That's troubling, of course, because, as I mentioned, we do not get the disease initially any more frequently, but we die more readily, and that's very troubling.
What are other groups that are impacted? You've got black women, Mediterranean women, or Hispanic women, Asian women. Where do they fall in there? Do you know?
Asian women also is another high group where we find the incidence of particular cancers. It's not breast cancer; it is colorectal for Asian populations, and also, you know, those statistics are being studied as to the whys. We participate also in a number of cancer studies to try and learn those things. We have a cancer prevention study that we are going through now, where we're asking people just to let us study you, just to get a sense of why it's different for me and you, why is it different for someone else. And those studies will give us some valuable information as to what it is that's different culturally, so that we can then put that on the prevention end.
How would a person become a candidate for such a program?
Those programs, those cancer prevention studies, you'd have to be cancer-free and be willing to participate in a program for 5 years, just kind of learning. You know, it's a long study. It's a long questionnaire. You have to have a blood test. Nothing more invasive than that. But what they want to do is they looking at your genetics, anyone in your family that's been impacted, not, you know, those kinds of studies are done throughout California, actually throughout the country. But it's a more of a long-term study that people have to commit to, so that we can see what happens over time. Because even though if you're cancer-free today, maybe that's not the case next year, and we'd like to see what happened between those times and what's some things that we can learn through that study.
Well, now, you've got so much to do in that if a person wanted to volunteer, what would I, not that I have the time, I do not have any time, but if I wanted to volunteer, I mean, what would a person do if they wanted to volunteer?
It's very simple. Call our 800 number, 800-ACS-2345, and then tell them where you live, and we can connect you with the nearest unit office. We have programs that you can volunteer. We'll have a list of things. If you can only volunteer for a day, if you can volunteer routinely, you know, once every month or whatever. If it's an event that you're interested in being a part of, we have a number of fundraising events.
What are some of your fundraising events?
Our largest is our Relay for Life events.
They just had that, didn't they? We
have those all over. And in my region, my area is from Reading down to Bakersfield. And we have
a big region.
Big region. 99 knows me well. Yeah. We have 79 of those just in our region. It's a 24-hour event where we celebrate survivorship. We also give information about prevention and education. We also have a lap where people are on the track for 24 hours just to recognize and to celebrate the fact that they are fighting back against cancer. We also have on the state capitol and down the street, and we had a number of people from our church who were participating in that event. Over 18,000 people were there.
Wow!
Where it's called Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. It's all around just that issue alone, where people themselves are survivors, or they're walking in memory of someone who's been lost to that disease, or they have family members that are in the struggle. And that is an event that we do once a year in 4 locations throughout California.
5,000 communities across America, Relay for Life brings together more than 3.5 million people in the fight against cancer. A life-saving and life-changing event, Relay is a time to celebrate the lives of those who've battled cancer, remember loved ones lost to cancer, and commit to fighting back against the disease.
It's really good to see you.
It's good to be here.
I'm sure it is.
It is.
I come to Relay to celebrate with my family, my friends, and really the whole community.
Relay is just an amazing event. It brings total strangers together for one cause.
People always ask me, well, how would I ever describe Relay for Life? And I'll say it's one day, one night, one community, one fight.
I was having some problems with my throat, and I had some ulcers on my throat. He stopped in the door frame, turned around, and says, "Let me examine you, give you a complete physical." As soon as he touched my neck, he knew. I went through some biopsies, and sure enough, the results came back that I had thyroid cancer. I didn't know my life had changed at that moment, but everybody else around me knew.
My sister Debbie was my older sister. She was carrying her third child when she got diagnosed with cancer, and unfortunately it was only a 6-week battle. We had plenty of fights as kids, but this fight was just one that was too much for her. She gave birth to a premature baby who's also running around here somewhere as a 9-year-old, so we consider him our last gift from her.
The first time I heard the words, "You have cancer," I was with my mother, who was so precious to me, and the very day that she was diagnosed with cancer was the day that I pretty much lost hope, because I've always been able to protect her. And when this disease came along, I felt hopeless because I couldn't.
Relay for me has been actually a source of healing. It's an event that has allowed me to get rid of some sadness and turn it into an energy source to have fun and do good things at the same time.
This disease can conquer, but the truth is, with the community that gets involved in Relay for Life, just a mere grassroots effort, that we can conquer this disease.
At the start of each relay is the powerful Survivors Lab.
We have a picture on our mantle. It's a picture of my first Survivor Lab, and it's me smiling. And I have to say, it's probably the most important picture I've ever taken.
As darkness falls, the lights of luminarias shine in honor of those battling cancer and in memory of those lost.
Each of these flags behind me represents someone in my community that's battling cancer. I invite you to come, join the fight, pick up a flag, and let's fight back.
To learn more about how you can join the American Cancer Society and the fight against cancer in your community, call us at 1-800-ACS-2345 or visit us at relayforlife.org. Relay for Life. Celebrate. Remember. Fight back.
Now, what does your society do in order to keep you to the forefront of, I don't know, the congressmen or your assemblymen? I assume that you guys have some lobbyists lobbying your cause.
We have a separate organization, that's called ACS CAN, which is strictly our legislative end. And of course, that is the piece that we're involved in the healthcare reform debate that's going on currently, as well as within our state legislature, we are involved in local and statewide initiatives. There's a tobacco tax initiative that we are a part of, where we're trying to raise the tobacco tax, because we see that as a deterrent. It has happened before. that if it gets to the point where it's too expensive to buy cigarettes, people say, you know what, it's not worth it anymore.
And what is I can remember when I was in college and I smoked. And when I smoked in college, I would smoke 5 cigarettes every 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I gave it up. You know, I gave it up every 2 weeks. And I don't know what they cost, but what does a pack of cigarettes cost?
You know, that's a very good question. But last time I heard, and this is dated, you know, it's like $7, $8 for just a single pack.
Get out of town.
A single pack. I don't know what it is now, and my information is dated. I've got to check, and that's a good question.
I was going to say $3.50.
No,
I have no idea.
No.
Yeah.
It's up there, and that's purposely done for deterrent factors. We're trying to get people to understand, and those tax dollars then go to prevention information and programs.
Now, are you all was your society involved in Joe Camel not being on posters near the school and things of that sort?
Yes.
They loved you, didn't they?
Oh, yes. We've been in a number of fights like that over the years where, because once it is proven how damaging something is, it's incumbent upon us, and sometimes you have to do it through the legislative arm. And so, yes, and fighting that monster lobbying firm called tobacco is not an easy thing to do, but we do tackle large corporations because we are huge advocates for the people that we serve. And we recognize that unless that arm is there, those changes won't occur.
Now, what's the most frustrating aspect of your job? I mean, we don't want you to put your job in jeopardy, but what's the most frustrating aspect of your job? I mean, what message you want to try to get out that you can't seem to get out?
Well, people can impact whether or not their health care outlook changes. We really can. It's not a gloom and doom. I mean, granted, we have lots of issues currently, but tomorrow is a new day. And I'm a very positive person. You know, that's my personality.
And a great Sunday school teacher, by the way. Great Sunday school teacher.
Another lesson, yeah. But this lesson I try and tell people is that, you know, we can always make changes. I have a dear friend that I just love to death, and he's a smoker. I am not going to be satisfied till I get him to understand that he still can impact his health long term.
Does he run when he sees you coming?
Oh, does he? And I love the fact that he tries to hide the cigarette and starts fanning and as if you can stop it. You know, I know you're smoking. And I said, I'm not on you because I'm trying to just nag you, but it absolutely will impact your health. And I know that if people make those changes, they will reverse those trends and help to improve their outcome and their longevity, which is what we want.
Absolutely. Because also, if you learn more about smoking, I mean, the power of secondhand smoke. Secondhand smoke. The power of secondhand smoke, particularly people that have, this is not the smoking show, but people that have young children, and that they don't have a choice on whether or not they're going to inhale
There
this
is a bill that passed that we were the sponsors for, and that was if people were smoking in the car with children. That was our bill. And it did pass, thankfully, because we understood the damage that children who were unable to have any say in the matter were inhaling these fumes in a car. Think of a car and how much room or lack thereof. And we saw that children were having asthma and all kinds of other respiratory diseases and also cancers. And you think about it, most 6-year-olds are not smoking. So where are they getting those types of exposures? It's from secondhand smoke. And so smoking in a car was a bill that we, as the American Cancer Society, did support, and thankfully it was passed. Did
you have an awful lot of flack? I mean, that's y'all had to go up against the tobacco industry.
Yes. That's the quick answer. Absolutely. It was not, I don't mean to mention or to indicate that it was like a piece of cake. It was nowhere close to that. But thankfully, you know, after lots of work, lots of efforts, and it took, you know, several years. It was not a quick process, but that was something that we would continue to fight until we were able to win.
Now, how do you acquire your funds? I mean, people make contributions, because I just made my contribution to the American Cancer Society in honor of my late husband. But what type of fundraisers, other fundraisers, do you have?
And primarily our money is through our fundraising arm. And people who just make general donations is another way, but we do, as I mentioned, the Relay for Life and the Making Strides Walk. We hold galas throughout our region.
I've never been invited to a gala. I got dresses.
I know you do.
I got stuff and purses.
I'll make sure you're invited to the next one.
I'll make sure I'll go.
We will have you on the list for our gala. We have golf tournaments, all types of events. Depends on, not everyone wants to go to golf. Mm-hmm. Everyone may not want to walk, but there's something for everyone. And as well as we solicit money from corporations to make donations, individuals who like to make donations. And that's how we raise our money, because we recognize that we will always want to provide our services free to someone calling in. They're burdened enough with just the whole journey. So we want to say, no, we would have that support program, but you got to pay for it. And that that would not sit well.
Because not everyone's able to afford that.
Of course not.
Yeah. Now, do you have various stages of your support? We talked about preventions. Someone just called in with cancer.
Sure.
Do you cross-pollinate with the hospice community?
We do, because we recognize that for some, it's the end stage. And we absolutely partner with different hospice programs. We provide that information to our families.
Is this literature, or is that the way that you do it?
We do it both ways, literature as well as connecting them with those programs, so that if they, depending on where they live and there are different programs in the area, we make sure that they're aware of them. And we recommend, that they do connect with the hospice program. We recognize the value of that for those who are in the end stage.
Well, now, what has been the most uplifting aspect about your involvement with the American Cancer Society?
There's several. I think seeing the difference that people who go through our Look Good, Feel Better program, someone who's fighting that journey and may not have wanted to go to church anymore because they feel they look bad. And they've gone through our program and absolutely come out, and I remember someone sent me a picture. She said, "I'm just too cute, I had to share."
Good for her.
And I saved that. That. She said, "I'm just too cute, and I had to share." But if you empower someone to go out again, not just be internalizing this journey, and help them know that there's an end to this journey. You will get through this. You will. But surrounding yourself with positive people, going to church, going to your other networks of people, is very, very powerful and very, it's good for the soul.
Well, now, do you recommend counseling for these people?
We recognize we don't provide that counseling. We don't have that arm, but there are some people who absolutely can benefit from that. And we certainly have a list of resources that we then refer people to.
What we've talked about, what's the happiest aspect of your job?
When I get to hear someone call me and say that, I just left my doctor's office and I have now been declared cancer-free. That's a shouting moment. I have to not shout at work, but I do,
go into your closet.
I go into my office and close my door.
Right.
It is to hear that, to hear someone say, "I needed you to know I am now cancer-free." It's worth it all. It's worth it all. Or someone calls to say, "My hair is growing back." Or that my child is now running around again. Those are the happy moments. That's the reason that I do the job.
Well, now, what's a single bit of advice that you would want to give our viewers?
That if you or someone you know, someone you love, someone around you, don't go through it by yourself. You need to connect, and we are willing and here for you. Please call us. We are always there for you. If you want to just go on your computer at cancer.org, there's a wealth of information there. If you want to get on the phone, we have people who are on the phone any hour of the day. I'm talking 4 a.m. You will get someone to answer you.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, wonderful. Literally. And we will be there to support you.
Now, you're saying there's a wealth of information on your website. What are some of the links that are on your website? If
you were told you have a particular type of cancer, something with a long name, and you're like, what does that really mean? What is that?
The definition.
You can type that in. It will give you some of the questions that you might have, answer some of the questions that you might have as to what is that? Is that a treatable cancer? Is that a cancer that, what's the incident in, my age group? All of those kinds of, you can type in your type of questions and the answers are there.
Yeah, that's important. That's one of my mantras, and you've heard it again, and you're going to hear it again. It's very important for you to arm yourself with information.
As much as you can.
As much as you can, because then when you are talking to your doctor, talking to whomever, talking to your children or whatever, you can go ahead and have real information, real specific information, and then when you're talking to your doctor and he's throwing around these 50-cent words, you're not thrown off because you understand what a carcinoma is. You understand what a melanoma is, and things of that sort. So again, you've armed yourself and then empowered yourself, and I like that word. It's one of my favorite words. Empowered yourself so you can take control of the situation, because it's a situation because the nature of cancer, it can get away from you. It can loom larger than life and things of that sort. So it's important for you to do that. So any closing comments that you'd like to make?
I really appreciate this opportunity, and I'm more than willing to talk to anyone or to help arm them and help connect them with others who can be that connector for them. You don't have to walk this journey alone. The American Cancer Society is always there for you, and we're happy to provide whatever assistance that we can. Do you have other societies that you also partner with? Always. Other healthcare organizations are always, if it's not cancer, it can be American Heart, it can be, other, like I call them, organizations that, trust me, if we have the information, we'll be happy to share. Now, are they similarly structured? I mean, if I had some heart disease, I would be able to go to the American Heart Society, and they have supports. They're all a little different. They're all a little different, but we at least give you the basics that we know, and then they can share, how their programs all work. Right. So it'd be the American Heart Association, the Diabetes Association. My brother-in-law has diabetes, and he has to. He's on dialysis. I see. Yes, and so what he does, I mean, there's a lot of different benefits available. They told him, because my sister teaches music, is not able to always get around, and that they have a little shuttle that comes and picks him up and takes him where he's going. Exactly. Yeah, that's our road to recovery. We pick up people and get them to their treatment. So, I'm glad to hear that they have that. I don't know all of their programs, but we certainly make sure that people get the phone numbers and how to connect to those different organizations. Well, so you provide them with resource information. Do you all ever get? Do you have enough in common that you would get together and workshop other things? I don't think we've had workshops together, but I do know we join together like on legislation, because we recognize that it impacts all of us, and so we have joined together to be that lobbying end and to be the legislative end, so that we can be that fight back kind of coalition.
This is a big, big stage, and we must be here to wage a war.
And to see the effort and the love and the tears and every emotion that you can possibly imagine.
We're all here united as survivors or folks who are touched by cancer.
We have to step up, and we have to speak up.
I'm still here to tell the story and fight the fight.
And as survivors, we're celebrating this great victory, the greatest victory of our lives, and we also look around and see that there are loved ones who are being remembered.
I lost 3 family members already to cancer.
Well, thank you for holding me up. Thank you for picking me up. Thank you for walking with me, but most importantly, thank you for walking for me.
Our efforts here will not cease. We'll continue to put pressure on them when we get home.
There is a face behind cancer, and they cannot forget about it.
I care about cancer, and I vote, and my opinion matters.
We are not going to go away.
I care about cancer, and I will be heard.
Remember those who did not make it through. I'll keep on fighting for the rest of